save the world, but I'll get money today. Yeah, before my niggas starved, we had to make us a way. I was a young nigga in charge, now I got plenty of rain. I'm still the one, roll this blunt in 2 seconds with no rush. I count this paper, use my thumb before you blink, won't get a cut. I'm still the one, not the two. I thought you knew just where I'm from. Out the south side of the slums, they won't give a nigga crumbs. Still the one, I'm still the one. I'm still the one, still the one, still the one. Yeah, I'm still the one. I'm still the one. I don't feel what's to come. I'd rather light a split for some. I'm still the one, roll this blunt in 2.
Family, what's that word? What's good with y'all? It's your host that wrote the most, Steve-O Stoner, a.k.a. FBA Stoner Trap. We finna dive right into it. Of course, we all got the shocking news yesterday that Reverend Jesse Jackson had passed. Peace be upon him. Put in a lot of work for the black community. Some people, feel as though he's been compromised along the way in some aspects, but right now is about giving, praises and props to the lineage that he left behind and the legacy he left behind. So let's get right into it.
We begin this morning with a Fox News alert. Civil rights activist Reverend Jesse Jackson has died at the age of 84. His family announcing the news overnight. More on his life and legacy right now.
Put your hands together for our leader, the Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson.
Civil rights leader, politician, and community activist Jesse Louis Jackson was born October 8, 1941 in Greenville, South Carolina. He met Jacqueline Lavinia Brown. They got married in 1962 and together had 5 children. At that time, in the early 60s, the country was in the throes of the civil rights movement.
Will they be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood? I have a dream.
Jackson says he was so inspired by Dr. Martin Luther King, he went to work for him and was with King when he was assassinated in 1968.
Actually succeeded.
And that's the part where a lot of people feel as though, number one, let's start there. I did not know that Jesse Jackson was watching Martin Luther King and his works through TV and then got so inspired that he went to work for him. Number one, that's amazing because a lot of people can't get that type of thing done or don't have that type of determination where they can see themselves inspired by something and then go actively be a part of it. You dig? So let's tilt the hat for that. But a lot of people feel as though Jesse Jackson had something to do with MLK getting unalived, and that's why he was there in that situation. But that's all speculated. Some people feel as though it's proven. Hey.
Dr. King, after King's assassination in 1968, as the premier leader of the civil rights movement,
I never stopped serving.
In 1971, Jackson founded a group called People United to Save Humanity, or Operation Push.
Keep hope, alive. Keep hope.
Jackson ran for the presidency in 1983, but lost the Democratic nomination to Walter Mondale. In a second try in '88, Jackson landed second place in the Democratic primaries, falling short to then Massachusetts Governor Michael Dukakis.
He played a significant role.
Michael do what?
Falling short to then Massachusetts Governor Michael Dukakis.
He played.
Dog, you can't make this shit up. Michael do what?
Democratic primaries, falling short to then Massachusetts Governor Michael Dukakis.
He played a significant
All right,
role
man,
in
let
the
me stop. I'll be
transition to
serious.
some extent of the civil rights
Pause.
movement from protest to
Michael,
politics.
do what?
Around this time,
Hey,
the civil
man,
rights
stop.
leader formed a group he named the Rainbow Coalition because it was made up of people from all races and ethnic backgrounds.
Yeah,
was the-
and then people feel as though this is a lot when a lot of the co-opting came because think about it like this. And I'm not trying to smith a brother Jesse. I'm just saying. I'm just trying to walk y'all down a series of thoughts. If Jim Crow came and Jim Crow was about segregating black and white people and oppressing black people due to their race, and the next era that came after that was civil rights, trying to undo all of the oppression and injustice against black people. Because the fight was clear. It was black and white. It couldn't be any more clear. Then why in turn would a person that was so inspired by that movement go work for the civil rights leader, Martin Luther King? Why would he go work for him and then start an organization after he died that's trying to liberate everybody else but black people? But then under the guise of this is all minorities, all lives matter. This was essentially the first all lives matter movement. That shit just didn't really pan out for real, you know?
It's finished business that I'm about.
Because
fighting.
let me land the plane. Because the thing is, we always fly this banner of everybody being inclusive with the black struggle, and then once all of the goodies, resources, opportunity, and wealth comes to get passed along, everybody benefits from it but black people. See, that's the name of the game. And that's why people had a bad taste in their mouth about a person like Jesse, for real. You get me? So I'm just laying it out there so y'all can kind of understand it.
For equal opportunity for all Americans and peace in the world.
But Jackson's reputation took a major hit in early 2001. A tabloid broke the news that the Reverend fathered a child out of wedlock with one of his aides, Karen Stanford. Some supporters were outraged, but several civil rights leaders spoke out in support of Jackson.
And Reverend Jackson will get up, brush himself off, and keep on marching. And we'll be marching right there with him.
Congratulations.
Over the years, Jackson was recognized over and over again for his work on equal rights and efforts to help the less fortunate. He collected over 35 honorary degrees.
Some people feel like those was tokens from white supremacy for turning on his own people. One could say that. One could feel like they gave you all of these goodies, props, praises, and put you in these political positions to further get you up the ladder because you carry out an agenda that acts as though black people are included, but ultimately gives them benign neglect. So we gonna act like this is all lives matter, push coalition. Everybody needs everybody who's poor and oppressed. Everybody come together, and we gonna get this thing going together. We gonna get it popping together, and then everybody disappears with the bag. And black people are standing in the same position that we've been in the last 200, 300 years.
Jesse Jackson is just so special, not just to us, not just to our country, but to our world.
Supporters say in the last several decades, Jesse Jackson did more than anyone to move this country's civil rights agenda forward.
We now have the first African-American president. It would not have been possible if it were not for Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson.
I've sought to be a long-distance runner. I would like
And then him standing next to Tether Man kind of don't make it no better. I'm not trying to denigrate the brother. I'm just saying some things just, you know, I don't know. Some things just, they don't sit right, you know? And we know, when we was just talking about benign neglect, that's Mr. Benign Neglect right there. President Obama got in under the guidance that I'm black, y'all black, I got y'all. And he never really actually said that. that was one of those things that it was kind of preluded to. And then he got up there and then he did nothing for black people. Everything he put into legislation was for either LGBT or some other minority group that had nothing to do with us.
Measured by my box score, not by
My
the home
bad,
run or
bring
the
the mic
strikeout,
closer.
but being
I'm talking it right
a
now.
long distance servant.
And Jackson's followers promised the movement will continue.
We are not afraid.
Mike Tobin, Fox News.
And Carly, I think for a lot of the younger generations, the impact and the ubiquitousness of the Reverend Jesse Jackson, I don't think is necessarily felt. But for somebody like me, of the Reverend younger generations, the impact and the ubiquitousness of the Reverend Jesse Jackson, I don't think is necessarily felt. But for somebody like me who grew up in the 80s, Jesse Jackson was everywhere. Obviously ran for president twice in the 80s. So anytime you run for the highest office in the land, you are going to get a lot of notoriety. But I would argue that in terms of when I think of the 80s,
go back, Joe.
Jackson, I don't think is necessarily felt. But for somebody like me who grew up in the 80s,
go back, dude.
See, Jack, the impact and the ubiquitousness.
Ubiquitous. How you say that shit, gang? Ubiquitousness. That's finna blow me. Ubiquitousness. Ubiquitousness. Oh, I actually said it right. Presenting, appearing, or found everywhere. Wow, did not know that. Hey, y'all learning new words with me, man. I know I'm irritating for doing that during the stream. So what? I don't like to hear a word and I know what it means. Ubiquitousness. And I said it right. That's crazy. He flowed that shit. I'm going to use that shit in the rap. Y'all playing ubiquitousness. I got your girl on my... let me stop. Present, appearing, or found everywhere. Present, appearing, or found everywhere. Ubiquitousness. I'm adding that to my repertoire. You see how I'm whoop, come on, stop playing.
Reverend Jesse Jackson, I don't think is necessarily felt, but for somebody like me who grew up in the 80s,
it will be.
Jesse Jackson was everywhere. Obviously ran for president twice in the 80s. So anytime you run for the highest office in the land, you are going to get a lot of notoriety. But I would argue that in terms of when I think of the 80s, two people that stand out as being ever present in the 80s, Jesse Jackson and Donald Trump. And I don't think the connection between the two of them can be overstated. I am very curious to see what Donald Trump has to say online, in an interview, on tape, when he learns of this news and actually ends up talking about it. But here's an individual who had a controversial but definitely extremely varied career. Here's somebody who actually helped win the release of several detained and captured Americans around the world in 1999, negotiated the release of 3 U.S. soldiers held in what was then Yugoslavia. But then, as you heard in Mike Tobin's report, there were the accusations of having a child out of wedlock. Controversial, noteworthy, and I understand also there's...
You know they got to dirty his name. Now, what I did earlier when I ran down the, slight conspiracy theory or whatever you may call it, when I ran that down earlier, I was giving you the context of the black community and what we think about it. Now, you know that the white supremacist community, they are going to dirty his name before he get up out of there in some type of way. And they slick through that jab in there about the baby out of wedlock. That's crazy. They like, look, don't forget about that baby mama folks had on the side neither. We ain't letting that slide. They crazy.
Definite friction between the Obama camp and the Jesse Jackson camp, but I don't think we can look at Obama and say he would be there if not for the groundwork laid by Jesse Jackson.
And he's an ever-present figure, of course, in Chicago and Illinois. When I went to a baseball game in Chicago that Pope, the new Pope, was speaking at, I interviewed his son and met Jesse Jackson. And at the time, this was last year, he was in a wheelchair but surrounded by his family. So it's, as we've been reflecting on his life and passing, it was a family man, and his family will certainly be huddling around him and each other today while they More on the loss of this civil rights leader, somebody who has had a great impact on the direction of the Democrat Party. In 1984, he ran and also received pushback even from within his own party, saying that his ideas were too progressive at the time. But we are talking about him today as he has led a very consequential life.
With that, let us bring in Kenneth Moles Jr., pastor and faith ambassador. Pastor, great to have you on the program on this historic morning, the passing of Jesse Jackson. I don't want to view our discussion through the lens of politics necessarily. I want to view it through the lens of faith. As a faith leader yourself, what did Jesse Jackson mean to you?
He represented a voice of young African Americans. We have to remember that his place on the team was as a coordinator for SNCC, which was the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. He was able to bring in the college students and make them part of the rallies. He was able to bring a voice to Dr. King that said, hey, this movement is not just about African Americans, it's not just about civil rights, it's about the future. And his presence at the table, his presence in the meeting, all of that is what made the movement so powerful.
That's one thing that you got to give up to Jesse Jackson is the fact that he could move and mobilize people. You know, you got to realize he was around, like they said in the beginning, he was inspired by Martin Luther King so much that he ran to his story, that he ran to his aid. You did in real time. So you got to know that he got some game on how to mobilize and bring people together. He got the blueprint from the greatest, the biggest. You know what I'm saying? Martin Luther King brought so many people together. So it's one of those things where he took from the master. So, yeah, you can't knock him for that.
What will his legacy be?
He definitely know how to bring young black
His
folks
legacy
together.
will be one of keeping hope alive. There is no President Obama without Reverend Jesse Jackson. He is the precursor. He is the one that spoke to the Democratic Party in 1984, which sets up the opportunity for him to run and be the first African-American candidate to run and have that presence as a Democratic vote. It's not a coincidence that we see the young senator from Chicago speaking to the Democratic Party, and then through his speech, elocutionary skills, and faith at that time, it's thrust him into the forefront of the movement. So his legacy would be that, and you can see it right now through those he's mentored, and they're all young people, whether it's James G. or Reverend Otis Moss III, one of the great gentlemen there in Chicago, Illinois, Lamel McMorris, and even almost his spiritual son or person who's personally mentored, the Reverend Dr. Jamal Harrison Bryant. His touch and legacy is a continuation through not just the Rainbow Coalition, but how he's informed and even empowered the next generation of leaders that would advocate for the marginalized and for those whose voice is not being heard. The movement took place with the young people in Harlem, and I think it was documented. It's well over. He emceed the actual concert. I don't know the date or the time, but it's in the late mid '60s. He has that presence, and you'll see him again in the '70s. You see him in the '80s, as you just mentioned. Even having the international pull to get the soldiers out. He functioned and lived, as you would say, serendipitously through his speech.
What is these words, man? That was a cold ass word. What did he just say? Serendipitously.
Serendipitously.
See, now I gotta look up what that means. These is words that I haven't heard, dude. Serendipitously. Serendipitously. Look at that. It's a occurring or discovered by chance in a happy or beneficial way. So let's see how you use that again.
Even having the international pull to get the soldiers out, he functioned and lived, as you would say, serendipitously through his speech. See, and that's the power of the word. Even through Dr. Martin Luther King's "I Have a Speech," Dr. Jesse Jackson had, I have a dream rather, Dr. Reverend Jesse Jackson has that same attention, that same attraction, that same appeal that you can see him present within or with our artists or even our athletes, unlike that of Al Sharpton. There's certain voices who are ageless. They don't time out. They can identify. They are intergenerational, and he will be considered what we consider a Zakin man, a senior man that's given to counsel. Right. Often I hear Dr. Jamal Bryant and even Lamel McMorris reaching out to Dr. Jackson to find out, how do we do this? How do I pivot from here? What's our next movement? And although he's not in the forefront or walking, even as his health has declined over the last 3 or 4 years, he is still very much present, just like Andrew Young, through his mentoring, through his phone call.
Yes, a cause of death has not immediately been given, but his family says he died peacefully, surrounded by his loved ones. Civil rights leader Jesse Jackson has died at the age of 83.
Man, that's
Pastor
crazy.
Kenneth Moles Jr., we thank you for your time.
Brother Jesse. Damn, that's crazy. Yeah, man.
I want to begin by expressing our sadness at the passing of a person who I knew very well. Jesse was a piece of work, I want to tell you. He was a piece of work. But he was a
piece of work. Calling somebody a piece of work is crazy. Because what the hell? If Jesse Jackson is a piece of work, what are you, Trump? What are you?
Man, he was a real hero, and I just want to pay my highest respects to Reverend Jesse Jackson. He's a good man. He was actually, as you got to know him, he got better and better all the time. A lot of people, you get to know him, they get worse and worse. Jesse got better and better. But I knew him well long before becoming president, and he really was special with lots of personality, grit, and street smarts. You would say Jesse had serious street smarts, right? A very important ingredient to life, I will tell you. He was gregarious and someone who truly loved people.
Gregarious. Bro, y'all not finna keep that.
We respect and revere Jesus more than you. You don't even say.
Come on, man. How did y'all get to that? Gregarious.
I want to begin by expressing our sadness at the passing of a person I knew very well. Jesse was a piece of work.
I know I'm learning a lot of words today, y'all. Just bear with me. Gregarious. It says fond of company, sociable, gregarious. That thought that you met was just a little too gregarious. She should have humbled herself. I don't know. I'm a sauce it. I'm gonna figure it out.
He was a piece of work, but he was a good man. He was a real hero, and I just want to pay my highest respects to Reverend Jesse Jackson. He's a good man. He was actually, as you got to know him, he got better and better all the time. A lot of people, you get to know him, they get worse and worse.
And that's true, because I ain't even gonna lie. Most people that you meet, they're giving you their best foot forward. You get what I'm saying? They best mask, they best intent. They not even best intentions. They best impression. My bad. They best impression first, and then you get to see the worst parts of them later. You get to see maybe this motherfucker gamble too much. You get to see maybe this person lied too much. They ain't trustworthy. Maybe you get to see that this person don't take care of their kids. This is things that you see later along the line. It's not the thing that you see initially when you first meet the person. So Trump saying that is kind of big.
Jesse got better and better.
Jesse got better and better.
But I knew him well long before becoming president, and he really was special with lots of personality, grit, and street smarts. You would say Jesse had serious street smarts, right? A very important ingredient to life, I will tell you. He was gregarious and someone who truly loved people. and a force of nature. He was somebody that we're going to greatly miss. And on behalf of everyone here today, I know you join me in sending our condolences to the entire family.
Yes, sir. Peace
I want to
be
begin
upon
by
Jesse
expressing
Jackson. That's crazy. I didn't know Trump had something to say about him. Yeah, everybody got their thing for Jesse, man. Love him or hate him, you gotta acknowledge the work. The work that the brother put in. It's not that's not easy. You can't just jump off the porch and just, you know. Jesse was moving, inspired.
What's that? I just built a budgeting app in Base 44.
Guys, Nina just that man got out in the streets with it. I'm not finna do it. Sit right here for 4 minutes. That's not finna.
His legacy.
Give us the breakdown.
Age of 84. He was a Baptist minister, politician, and protege of Martin Luther King Jr. Jackson was at the motel in Memphis, Tennessee when King was assassinated back in 1968. Though that tragedy shaped him, it did not stop his fight for equal rights. Jackson went on to start the People United to Save Humanity, PUSH, back in 1971. PUSH worked to improve economic conditions of Black communities. In 1984, he launched a presidential campaign challenging Ronald Reagan. He finished third for the Democratic nomination. Jackson founded the National Rainbow Coalition in 1984 during his first campaign. PUSH and Rainbow Coalition merged in 1996. The organization advocated for social programs, voting rights, and affirmative action. Jackson put in his second presidential bid back in 1988. From 1990 to 1996, he served as a shadow senator in Washington, D.C. Jackson was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in 2017 and hospitalized with COVID back in 2021. The cause of his death has not officially been released just yet. Jackson is...
Oh, man, I didn't know about all that. I ain't even gonna lie. I ain't gonna say that because they go, well, it's about how you say it. Since he had the you dig, maybe they hit him with the jabbo, you know? I don't know. Maybe that's how Jesse, you know, that. Just think about it. He had Parkinson's, and then they said he had the you dig in 2021. It's 2026. I'm willing to bet for if he's a politician and a community activist and he had to do so much traveling and be in these government facilities around all of these different people with high clearances, he had to be, quote unquote, you know, with the status quo as far as the health concerns within the pandemic. I don't want to start no conspiracy theory, but people probably already threw that out there.
By his wife and his 6 children. Well, today we remember Jackson for the tireless work he put in to build community and change. He stood with Bishop William Barber II a few years ago in a crowd full of people comparing the difference to movements back then to now. Just take a listen.
I was glad to be on the Selma March in 1965 and the Selma March last week between Georgetown and Austin. The difference between now and then is that we were moral independence party. We lost the vote. They couldn't run the Nixon. Johnson without salvation in that march. Came to our rescue. Took the heat. First penny gave to Edward Jefferson, Republican. Second gave to Dr. King. We crossed part of the lines to make real sense. One thing I know now is that we're not we're now the integral part. We're the base to black and brown people.
Black and brown people.
The base. The part.
Of the part.
Not the bottom.
Not the bottom.
Foundation.
Foundation.
As long as we end up, that's where you start from. The reason why this Pelosi should be here today, Schumer should be here today, and Biden should be here today. Because if we lose, they lose.
That's right. That's right.
Agreed. We lose.
We lose.
Democracy loses.
Democracy.
We lose. Democrats lose. We lose. The nation loses. Honor, credibility, in the world.
Well, joining me now, we have Brandon Pope. He is a Black journalist and the host of WBEZ's podcast, Making Jesse Jackson, which explored Reverend Jackson's life, rise, influence, and controversies. Brandon, we want to thank you for joining us again on The Breakdown.
Hey, good to be here, Brittany, on a sad occasion.
Yes, indeed. You spent significant time researching Reverend Jackson's story through Making Jesse Jackson. When you heard that he had passed, what was your immediate reaction?
Immediate sadness. We had, as a Chicago community, a great friend in the Reverend Jesse Jackson. He was a consistent staple here in Chicago, just like he was across the country, but truly a Chicago icon, and a person who fought for every Black person in the city of Chicago, especially Black journalists, especially Black storytellers. He made sure to make time for the Black press and young Black journalists like me. And he was always dropping words of encouragement and words of inspiration. You know, one of his favorite things to say was, stay with the eagles and not with the snakes, meaning, you know, keep above the fray, keep your head high, keep your spirits high. That was always his mentality in everything he did, whether it was fighting for us with economic boycotts, whether it was feeding our communities, whether it was being that bridge between civil rights eras and civil rights generations. Jesse Jackson was a faithful servant, a faithful friend, and a faithful fighter for liberation and civil rights, not just in Chicago, but throughout the entire country and the world.
Brandon, in your podcast, you explore his relationship to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and the civil rights movement's inner circles. What did your reporting reveal about how Jackson was able to position himself?
Yeah, you know, one thing we explored was the contrasting narratives and accounts of their relationship. But one thing was very clear. Dr. King relied on the Reverend Jesse Jackson heavily when it came to major operations through the Midwest and around the country, but he really was his connection to the Midwest. Operation Breadbasket was his economic development arm through that Southern Christian Leadership Conference, and that's really where Jesse Jackson took ownership here.
And the breadbasket that he was talking about, I was just reading up on that Operation Breadbasket, so I wanted to read a bit of that real quick. If it'll pop back up. Damn, where'd it go? Hold on, give me a second to find it, y'all.
Improve the economic lives of Black Americans and make them better by pushing companies to hire more Black and minority executives, you know, work more with Black suppliers. It was big on inner city education programs and helping young people find jobs. And from that moment on, Jesse Jackson continued that work in different ways, and
he
in
just
some
explained it. It was basically Dr. King appointed Jesse Jackson as director of the Breadbasket, the economic arm of the SCLC. Breadbasket focused on securing employment for Black people. Under his leadership, Operation Breadbasket targeted grocery store chains with large presence in Black communities. Through pickets, protests, and data collections, Breadbasket activists demanded that these companies hire more community members in both entry-level and management positions. You know, so they was really on their ass. Like, they went to the source of the problem and said, okay, y'all out here benefiting from the people, but y'all not hiring people from the community. That's a problem. And if that continues, we're going to shut it down. And there was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. When you get the whole community on board and on code with the same thing, it's a wrap, you know. And like we discussed earlier, Jesse got the sauce from Martin Luther King, from MLK himself, on how to galvanize the people. So he was good at it.
Making it bigger and bigger and taking it to bigger corporations as he went on, from the Don't Choke on Coke campaign to the Sears campaign, all the way now to modern day with Rainbow Push being involved in the Target boycotts. Using that economic arm was a key weapon he learned from Dr. King, and something he utilized so much through his service over the decades.
Apparently you can go from zero to a complete site and just
make sure y'all get to stonertrap.com. Check out the music, the merch, live streams, and live performances. My bad, I was digging for this water bottle, y'all. I couldn't find it.
Site about Sambu.
You know, I think that one of the more fascinating parts of your podcast is how you're able to show Jackson as a preacher, but then also as a political force. How was he able to blend the two together?
Wow, I tell you what we know for sure about the Black church is it makes you a really good orator, especially if you get up there on the pulpit. And Jesse Jackson was a man who had a brilliant way with words and was able to bring that into the mainstream and into major political discourse. This is a man who really, is the trailblazer for so many Black politicians and elected officials. You could argue every Black elected official stands on Jesse Jackson's shoulders and that brilliant campaign in the 80s for president, right? His quick sloganeering, his ability to create chants that were resonating with people, that had a great rhyme scheme, but also be able to connect to the youth, connect to older generations. The man just had a way of connecting people that was deeply rooted in his Christian faith, deeply rooted in his church background, deeply rooted in his upbringing in Greenville, South Carolina, where he actually started out his whole civil rights career with a sit-in at his local library as part of the Greenville 8. A group we don't really talk about as large as some of the other sit-in protests, but that was his way of starting that life of being a change maker, right? And so the thorough line there, seeing how he led his church life, seeing how he blended that with that political power life, and blending the two to become really a power broker in both. And even just the name Push, going from save to serve in that S, right? Says a lot about what he felt like the role of faith and power in politics really was.
Brandon, after reporting this series, what would you say is the most misunderstood part of Jesse Jackson's legacy?
I think the most misunderstood part about Jesse Jackson's legacy, this was an ordinary man. I guess that's the big thing, right? I think it's easy for us to lionize and kind of Santa Claus our historical figures in a sense. I think that does them a disservice. The Reverend Jesse Jackson was a father. He was a friend. He was a flawed man. He was an imperfect man, but he was staunch in his belief for economic opportunity for all people. He was staunch in his belief that, if multiple generations and races come together and build coalitions like that famous Rainbow Coalition, that we as a people together can have progress. So, I'm sure you're going to see messaging from right-wing sources and people who are just really in bad faith, who are going to say something really vile or something really mean-spirited about the Reverend Jesse Jackson. It's just important to remember he was a unifier, not a divider.
No cap, because it's like you should expect compliment sandwiches, like, or rather backhand compliments. I ain't even gonna say a compliment sandwich. You should expect somebody to say something cool, or give props or praises to him, but then on these major media outlets, they still gonna try to smear him on the low key. Like you heard Fox News, they threw out that he got a child out of wedlock or a baby mama on the side or something weird. You know what I'm saying? So just expect that. They always try to throw that weird little asterisk on the end of Black legends. Like, yeah, he was a good guy, but he did this. He was a great guy, but don't forget about that. So it's just, they always do that. Always expect that. But peace be upon the brother, Reverend Jesse Jackson. Done some amazing things, great contributions to the Black community, I may not agree with everything, especially, you know, adding in a lot of these other minorities, because that seems to water down what it is our agenda is. So, and it always gets confused, and, you know, they toss our agenda to the side and uphold theirs. So, but regardless of how I feel about all that, I'm not taking nothing away from Jesse Jackson's contributions, you know. So peace be upon the brother. We catch y'all on the next stream. Peace and blessings to y'all. Love. We out.